one is going to be kind of a hybrid between a mini tour and a learning about a specific type of collection. We have so many people in our community that collect, just they really concentrate on one thing or another, whether it's Plutos or Peter Pez or Pals. And it's really interesting and intriguing to me. So I asked Shawn Hartsell to talk about Jungle Book and the things that he's interested in, which also include Fat Ear Bunnies. Shawn is a pastor in Klamath Falls, Oregon, where he lives with his wife of 25 years. They have 4 sons and a grandson. You may be surprised. I was surprised because it feels like I've known Shawn forever, but Shawn has only been collecting Pez for 2 years. So Shawn, we're going to spotlight you, and we're going to turn you over and let you talk about whatever you want to talk about today.
Let's see. Shawn, you have to, okay. I'll do the one where the video is. Is this the one that you, Shawn, is this the one that you want?
No, the other one.
The other one? Okay.
I found these skin cells on his wrist. I assumed they were his, but analyzed them just to make sure they're not Britney's. Could be the killers.
All right, let's see.
Here we go.
All right. Is it working?
Yes, we can see
All
it.
right. All right.
Yep, we hear you too.
Okay. Well, first of all, I want to thank Landon and obviously Morgan for asking me to talk about Jungle Book PEZ. Second, I want everyone to know that I am by no means an expert on Jungle Book PEZ. But I will say that I'm an expert on loving Jungle Book PEZ. Jungle Book PEZ to me are like Batman Pez to Joe Durant. I just love them. And I could go into the long story of why I love them, but I don't have enough time for that. Anyway, I simply love them. Now, in 1967, The Jungle Book became the 19th Disney animated movie. It was the last to be personally supervised by Walt Disney, and the Disney's last animated feature of the 1960s. The first Disney film to be released after his death in 1966, just prior to the film's theatrical release, and then therefore this film was dedicated to his memory. After a studio screening of the finished film, Walt Disney's personal nurse, Hazel George, she came up to the animator Ollie Johnston with tears in her eyes and told him that the final shot where Bagheera and Baloo walk off into the sunset was perfect, and that it was just the way that Walt would want to go out. Now, since Walt Disney died during the production of this film, many people wondered at what the studio's fate would be, particularly the animation division. And so the film performed extremely well at the box office and ensuring their jobs. And had the film failed, now think about this, if the Jungle Book cartoon would have failed, it's very likely that the animation from Disney would have ceased. But it didn't fail because on a $4 million budget, they made $378 million in 1967. So it was the 7th highest grossing film of the 20th century in the United Kingdom. And it was the most successful film released in Germany with 27.3 million tickets sold. And not only was the movie successful, so were the Jungle Book PEZ. The 1967 release of the Jungle Book PEZ were Baloo, Mowgli, and King Louie. Now, contrary to what some people believe, The Little Bad Wolf was not part of the Jungle Book PEZ release. The Little Bad Wolf dispenser was actually released 2 years before in 1965. But due to the popularity of the Jungle Book PEZ and the unpopularity of the Little Bad Wolf, things changed. So PEZ later boxed it with the Jungle Book PEZ to help get rid of those dispensers. But Little Bad Wolf is not a Jungle Book PEZ dispenser. I don't even own a Little Bad Wolf. Anyway, so let's talk about Mowgli. Now, Mowgli is the main character of the Jungle Book. He's a boy that was raised by wolves and is on a journey to a man village with his newly discovered friends. Now, the Mowgli PEZ dispenser has a few varieties, okay? So here's the Mowglis that I have. Now, obviously, I've only been collecting for 2 years, and I don't have a budget like Glenn Mendelsohn does. I know Glenn's on here. And by the way, if you have any questions about the test pieces, that's a Glenn Mendelsohn question. But here's the Mowglis that I have. And if you'll notice how many different colors there are in the faces. I mean, there's just tons of different colors in the faces. So Mowgli came out with predominantly the yellow color, yellow and red, but he also came in blue. In fact, if you go to PEZ's website, they promote the blue color on their picture. But he was no foot, he was thin foot at 3.9, and he also came in a 4.9. But it's just crazy how this dispenser has been, I mean, all the way from a no foot 3.9 to a 4.9. And then there's blue. So here's Baloo's. Now, Baloo is the friendly, even-tempered character who lives a responsibility-free life, kind of like me. Baloo is one of Mowgli's mentors and friends, and he is patient and strong, and his only weakness is that he's ticklish. All right. But the blue PEZ dispensers, they are found on the no foot 3.9s, thin foot 3.9s. But I do not know of any 4.9s except for the fuchsia test piece. I believe that the fuchsia test piece may be on a 4.9. But the stems are predominantly green and blue and red. And the heads are predominantly blue, blue-gray, and gray. But it's amazing. If you only have one dispenser, you would never see all of the differences. But look at all of the different shades of the blue and the gray. But if you only have one, you would never see that. Right? You would just never see that if you only have one. Then there's some of the heads have the hinge holes, some of them don't. There's some with the copyright and some without the copyright. In fact, I saw Mason on here. Mason has one without the copyright. That it's, I don't know. I just love them. Then there's the King Louie's. Now, King Louie, the orangutan, he loves to sing and he loves to swing. He's probably like a Landon character. He offers to help Mowgli stay in the jungle if he will tell Louie how to make fire. But Mowgli doesn't know how to make fire. He was raised by wolves. Anyway, so King Louie, he's found on the no foot 3.9s, the thin foot 3.9s, and he's also found, just like the Mowgli, on footed 4.9s. But the stem colors are predominantly red. Now, some of mine are not legit stems. I understand that, but it's okay. I love them all the same. But they were predominantly red. They did have some black stems, but the faces, now look at this. Even though these are all basically the same dispenser, look at the different shades on the faces. Now I know that this one right here is a lighter. It's an obviously lighter one, but even the ones back here, there's different shades versus the other ones. But if you only had one, you would not know that, right? And, then it actually goes to shades to the, you have the red one. Jason Ulrich had a red one for sale. You have the chocolate one from Mexico. And there's there are heads with the hinge hole, and there's heads without the hinge hole. And then in 2003, Jungle Book 2, the movie, was released. And along with this movie, the Jungle Book 2 PEZ came out. And the characters for that was Mowgli, Baloo, Bagheera, Shere Khan, and Kaa. Now, the Mowgli B version is he's only on a red stem, and obviously he's newer. He's 2003, so it's all, they're all produced mechanically. Unlike the older ones, the vintage ones were all hand done by people in their homes. That's why most Baloos are different. It's hard to find a Baloo that's exactly the same. But Mowgli only came on a red stem. But there is the SKF. This is the SKF. So I found out about this through Momo PEZ, and that is very hard to find. It was a promotional dispenser that was designed for this company SKF, and there's some kind of a German bearing company. But that's why he's in there, because I do not want to break that stem, because that stem is hard to find. Anyway, so then you got the Baloo. So Baloo came only on gray, the B version, and red. And then there's the golden one. And then, of course, this is a fantasy, but I love it. And then you got Bagheera. Bagheera is only on a yellow stem, nothing fancy. Shere Khan, only on a orange stem, no variations. There's no variations of those that I know of. Now, there are test pieces, but as far as these dispensers having variations, there's none. Except for Kaa. So Kaa the snake is on a green stem, but there's a difference between these and a difference between these. So these right here are actually proper. All of these actually have the registered trademark upside down, the registered copyright trademark. So it's actually more common to find it with the R upside down than it is normal. But that's only on the cause. And I know if you have any questions about that, Rory has done a lot of, it's on the PEZ copyright, not the, yeah, it's on the stem. Here, I'll show you. Let's see. See if I can get that. See how the R's upside, whoops.
Yeah. There it is.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, it comes in and out. That's okay.
But anyway, that is the only variation. Now I know Camart, he listed something where he thought that he's witnessed a difference between two Kaas that he had, but out of all the ones I have, I don't see any difference. Now I know, like sometimes, dispensers that you get, whether it be, from nicotine or sun fading or something, there will be some kind of discoloration. But other than that, I don't think that there's any dominating difference. But anyway, those are all my Jungle Books, and I'm really I'm really proud of that blue right there on card. But as far as my Jungle Books, that one, that card, and that Mowgli is definitely, those are my two prized possessions.
That's cool.
So then we got FEBs. That's my other thing. Now, Jungle Book will always be my number one, but I really, really, really like FEBs too. Now, I am no, Scott Carsoner, I am not, okay? But I do like FEBs. So these are my FEBs. And
I've always wondered why so many collectors are drawn to these. So what about these? What do you like? What has drawn you into them?
Well, like the Jungle Book, FEBs are a low-end vintage. So, yes, they're vintage, but they're on the lower end, so they're not as expensive. So it's more affordable for me, is one thing. And number two is just the variety of colors. I mean, I just love the variety of the colors. And now, since I've only been collecting 2 years, when you're a new collector, there's some questions that you have, but you really don't know if you don't know how to ask them. And so I will explain some things for the new collectors. And I know some of these old collectors, I get it. You've been there, done that, and got the T-shirt, but some people are scared to ask questions on, how to understand the difference between things. So let me show you. So this right here, that if you look at the back of that, that means that is a metal spring. So if you look at the back of that compared to and I know all of you big collectors, you're like, this is old hat for me. This isn't, I already know that. I get it. But there are some people who are new to this hobby that may not understand this. So that big fat, because that's big and fat, that tells you that is a metal spring. This is plastic. Now, that is a metal spring, but that does not mean that it is a metal pin. Because the metal pins are the ones that are more valuable, typically, because they're extremely old. Because that is not a metal pin. But this is. See the difference? And I'm just trying to help these new people understand what the difference is, because sometimes if you go on eBay, sometimes people have no idea what they have, and they will describe it as something that it's not. So that is a metal pinhead. So if it's a pinhead, it will always be like that on the back. A pinhead will never, ever, ever look like that on the back, because that's plastic. And let's see, these are some of my fantasies that I made. And yes, these are dyed. I did not cast these are dyed. But if you want to see a real redhead, then you have to talk to someone like Glenn Mendelsohn, not me, because I can't afford those things. But anyway, these are just some of my fantasies. But another thing, but let me show you something else that I'm really excited about, because my army, and I can't show you because I'm not at the house. I was scared to film at my house because my house is very active, and I was scared that I would be interrupted. But anyway, the snowman is my army, and so I have a lot of collectors who autograph the original snowmans for me and send them to me. So here are some of my autographed dispensers. These are all collectors. Oh, who's that? But anyway, so if anybody wants to send me one of these, if they want to sign one for me, contact me and I will send you a dispenser, and then you can sign it and send it back. I still have to send one to Justin, and I need to send one to Glenn, I know. But anyway, that is something that's dear to my heart, because I was thinking, I started collecting all these snowmen, this huge army, and it's like, well, I'd like to make it worthwhile. So how about having, signatures? And then if they send me their cards, if they send me their business cards, it actually props it up perfectly.
That's cool. Looks good.
Yep. So anyway. Obviously those are Steve Blues.
Yeah, that looks great. Like the idea of finding a dispenser, some people have done that for going to conventions. When they go to conventions, they'll have people sign dispensers, or when someone comes and visits their collection. So I love that. I love that you have those like that.
Oh yeah.
Looks great.
Yeah. Yep. Someone said who signed the green, this one? That's Penny. Penny made that for me. I was being sarcastic, and I told Penny, I said, I'd like to have a yellow snowman, because you don't want to eat yellow snow. And so she made me one.
That's awesome. Well, are there any other questions for Shawn here? You can always message Shawn. He's pretty active, and I know he goes to the meetup on Thursdays as well. Positively PEZ. I know he does that too.
Yep.
Okay. I think that's it. Shawn, if you have any questions for him, just reach out to him. Let him know. Thanks for showing us those, and thanks for the education. I learned some stuff today too. I'm gonna go check my my cause, see what's going on with that stem.
There you go.
I had never heard that before. That's a good tidbit. Okay, thanks again, Shawn.
You bet. Thanks, guys.